All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's podcast. I am your host, Rahsaan Corbin II. My co-host Omar is not here today. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it. And I have a very special guest. Well, all my guests are very special, but I have a very special guest today. You know what I'm saying? My future lawyer and the people's future lawyer, Ashney Francis. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Man, I'm chilling, living life to the fullest. But yeah, thank you for being on today's podcast. You know, taking time out of your busy schedule. Before we get started, I'm gonna do a little icebreaker. I'm gonna just do three questions. I'm doing this like it's three, but it's six. Three questions. So first things first. Would you rather get your paycheck given to you in pennies, or never be able to use cash again?
Give me my paycheck in pennies.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, but it's like at least I can go to like the bank and like put them like cash it out, but never be able to use cash. People are already moving away from cash.
Yeah.
So
But
I
yeah, I
can't
can't imagine walking to the bank, the teller sitting at there.
bag behind my back. I already know what time it is if I'm coming every other Friday. So
Bro. She's back.
like yeah, I need actually I'll make an appointment too. Like I'll do the courtesy of making an appointment. But yeah.
All right. Would you rather be 11 feet tall or 9 inches tall? I guess that'll be 9 inches short or tall. I don't know what the proper term
Nine
would be.
9 inches. That's hard. That's a hard life. But still being 11 foot, that's crazy. You can't fit through no doors. The standard door is six
You got
feet.
and you got back problems.
Yeah, like you'll have to get different shoes, different outfits. I'd rather be 9 inches tall because at least people will think I'm cute, like a little fairy situation. You know, Thumbelina? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'd be like Thumbelina. Like I wouldn't be expected to have like actual responsibilities because I'm basically like a little fairy sized human. So if you're 11 feet, people are going to be like, okay, you're just tall. Sorry. Go to work. So yeah.
All right, all right, last one. Would you rather master every musical instrument or every type of sport?
Mm, give me instruments. Give me instrument. Yeah. I don't really do the sports, but if I could learn how to play the violin and the piano, that'd be dope. Get a couple scholarships off of it too. Yeah. I mean, you can get scholarships off the sports, but I'd rather do it off of the instruments.
Can't imagine. Lawyer by day, musician by night.
You know, actually, you'd be surprised. There are so many law like professors and law students
Mm,
who are into the arts. I've had professors come to my class and sing review and play the keyboard. So it is not that far off from what you think.
that's a little different, but I know everybody has their side hustles and hobbies outside.
I'd
But
be
yeah,
down.
yeah, I can imagine. Like, imagine you're on break, right? I'm like, I'm mad. I'm gonna go play my piano. I'm gonna go play my violin or like the flute or
I'm gonna
clarinet or
find me a
whatever.
flute. Yes, yes. I'm gonna find me a flute. Actually, that'd be so great. I want to learn how to play piano actually,
Shoot,
but
another life goal. We got a long term ahead in life. So another life
mhm.
goal to add. Some hobby. But that was a little bit of a tangent. A little bit of tangent. But thank you for, helping me break the ice with this interview. And now let's get into the beef of the interview. So first things first, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you currently attend school, and what are you studying?
Yes, so my name is Ashney Francis. I am a second year law student at Emory University School of Law in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm originally from Broward County, Florida, born and raised in Broward, so I claim Broward more than anything. And I went to school back in Miami to Florida International University, and I got my bachelor's in criminal justice. Took a gap year, and now I'm here.
Got you. Well, why did you choose the school you went to for undergrad and your major? Like, was law school always in the bigger picture in life?
Law school was always in the bigger picture. I didn't know exactly how I was going to get there or how I was going to pay for it, more importantly, but that came along the way. and really grateful that it did. Praise God for that. But my undergrad school wasn't really much of a decision. I originally thought I wanted to go to Howard at first, actually, but I remember somebody at my church told me, don't sleep on the opportunities you have in your own backyard. And coincidentally, that was the same week that my high school was touring University of Miami and FIU. And when I got on the campus, I was like, oh, I didn't want to like FIU at first. I was like, nobody's going to FIU, everybody going to UF, everybody going to FSU, everybody going to FAMU. I want to be where the people at. But I really felt like that was where I needed to be. And it really worked out. That's how I got my first job. That's how I got my letters of recommendations for law school. And I learned a lot. So I'm glad I went with FIU and I didn't sleep on those opportunities back there. And yeah, in coming to law school, I picked Emory because I've always had an interest in the child welfare and juvenile justice space. So I wanted to go to a school that had some type of focus on it. And my options were Georgetown and Emory. Emory because it was close. I have familial connections here, and they have a very extensive heart and child policy and welfare clinic. And Georgetown has like a racial education and equity clinic as well. So I applied to Emory with that being my first choice, just because the stars really aligned coming here a lot more than Georgetown, and ended up getting in. So
Nice. Well, we're going to get into the law school discussion later on in the interview, but tell us a little about your campus involvement, or on-campus involvement, when you were an undergrad.
So in undergrad, I wore a lot of hats. I was the director of education and enrichment for my Black Student Union for 2 years in the midst of a pandemic. I was a student ambassador, which are basically student representatives that talk to donors. We're considered the philanthropic wing of the university, so raising money for our emergency fund for students. I was also a board member of the Panther Community Action Board, which dealt a lot with the sustainable development goals of the United Nations on like a local scale. So dealing with SDGs, my favorite one or my focus was education, equitable education for everyone in Miami-Dade County. Other people focused on gentrification, climate justice, things of that nature. I was also a congressional intern with the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, where I was with the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which is like the 100-member large caucus focusing on progressing different agendas, such as access to healthcare, education, and things of that nature. I also worked as a inaugural program coordinator for the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Its name has since changed to, I think it's Access, Compliance, and Equity, something like that. It's ACE now. I was originally a student volunteer, which ended up prompting their own student volunteer program, which is fully built out now. And I was kind of like a guinea pig in that. And then I ended up getting a job out of that position, and I worked there during my gap year. So I feel like I'm probably missing stuff, but that was the major key points.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a very big overview. And like I said, the future lawyer for the people. So you're definitely with the people on campus because you're not only impacting the surrounding community of, FIU or county or the community outside of FIU, but also the community within FIU as well. So that's always great to hear. So fast forward to law school. Like I said, we'll talk about this later, but I want to talk about his campus involvement first to get a background before we take another step back. So, what about your on-campus involvement now within law school?
Yeah, so here I don't wear as many hats because law school is law schooling, but I am a part of my Black Law Students Association chapter, Emory's chapter, but I'm wearing my national chapter shirt. Also, pay your dues. I'm a national member as well. And there I am the first pre-law student division liaison of Emory's chapter. So my goal here is to reach out to pre-law students throughout the state of Georgia and beyond, because sometimes I have some folks from Florida reach out to me when they see that LinkedIn connection. So I really do appreciate that. But primarily focusing on guiding pre-law students through scholarship resources, LSAT prep, just the entire journey of getting into law school. And I really do love this position because as a lens of a first generation everything, I think I give all the information that I wish I had at the time. And it's proven to be really helpful. I've had a couple students who I've been in contact with in the past year when they've started their law school journey, and they're actually here at Emory now as first year law students. So it's a very fulfilling experience, even though I'm not wearing as many hats. I'm grateful to be able to kind of just narrow in and hone in on the 1 and 2 students that stay in contact with me and hone in on what their goals are. So it's been very fulfilling.
Once again, someone for the people. We love to hear it. Now, you mentioned that you were a first gen everything, first gen undergrad, first gen law student in your family, law school student in your family. Um, did anyone in your family have a impact on your decision to attend college?
Yes, that was both my parents. And they are from, my dad is from Jamaica, my mom is from Haiti. So I'm first generation American in that sense. My mom went to, I think she went to community college and got her associates, but her college literally does not exist anymore.
Oh
And my
wow.
dad went to trade school. Yeah, it was like consolidated and like it disappeared. So yeah, first gen in the sense that I am the first in my family to go to university, and of course, I'm the first in my family to go to law school. Both of my parents kind of instilled like get more education than we were able to. Where they grew up, they were in like the country and rural areas of both of their countries, so they weren't able to achieve the standard of education that they expected their children to. So yeah, I've always just been pushed to learn as much as I can. And nobody really told me to go to law school. I thought at first I wanted to be a doctor, but then I didn't. One, I wasn't good at operation, and two, I didn't like the sight of blood. So I learned very quickly. I was like, okay, this isn't for me. I need to figure something out. Luckily, my mom was a probation officer, and my parents both did really good jobs at taking me to their jobs when they had the time. So I'm really grateful I got to experience what that looked like. My dad worked as a maintenance man at Fort Lauderdale International Airport. So we would go watch the planes and see how those went. And that's how my brothers chose their career choices. But me, when I went to the office with my mom, I noticed there were a lot of kids that she worked with that looked like me, and I didn't like that. So I kind of delved into the legal space at 14 years old. I went to William Dandy Middle School, which was a magnet pre-law program, and that kind of really got me into the legal field. They also coincidentally had a pre-med program, which I thought I was going to do, but that did not pan out. And I always thought I would get tired of the law, but I never did. Every year I learned something new and it just kept me going. So I can contribute both my parents. Thank y'all for helping me strive and do my best and get to where I am.
Wow. Did you feel any pressure knowing that you'd be the first in your family to go to university and then further to follow up with that to even attend law school? Did you feel any pressure on yourself from external factors or internal factors? And how'd you deal with them?
I luckily did not experience any external pressure. I kind of find myself to be pretty self-driven. So a lot of the pressure was on me because of me. My parents, they've always been like, listen, don't do none of this stuff for us. Don't worry about taking care of us. Don't worry about none of that. Focus on what you need to focus on and call it a day. But I definitely put so much pressure on myself, especially as like the eldest child and the only daughter. That expectation of needing to be successful in a Caribbean household so that you can take care of your elders is a very prevalent thing. And so there was a lot of pressure and still is because I don't really know how I'm going to make money when I graduate, but it's all on me. My parents are like, listen, we are fine. We are perfectly fine. Do what you need to do in order for you to feel comfortable and leave it at that. But me, I'm like, okay, but I want to do more though. I want to take the next step. I don't just want to be comfortable. I want to be good. I want to be solid. I want to be great. So a lot of the pressure is on me because of me.
Got you. And if you feel comfortable answering, during your gap year, what was like your thought process while you were applying to law school or preparing for the LSAT? Did I say that right? The LSAT, right? The
Yeah.
test? All right,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. What was your thought process during that year, preparing for law school and the LSAT? Like what was going through your head? Like were you like, oh, will I get in? Will I not get in? Like what were you going through during that time, mentally?
Whew. Yeah, that time was a doozy. So I was preparing for the LSAT while I was graduating, while I was starting a new job, while I was balancing all of those executive board positions that I mentioned earlier. And I gave myself 6 months. So I started from December 2021 all the way up until I graduated in May 2022, and I took my exam June. Throughout those 6 months, I was definitely fighting for my life, trying to balance all those things. And my mindset was I wanted to be a one and done. I don't care what score I got. I did not want to take this exam again. I'm not a big fan of standardized testing. As a future education attorney, I can get all into that. But I really genuinely just have never liked standardized testing on my own personal thoughts and opinions. So I wanted to take this exam once and be done. So I was literally praying like, Lord, I don't care what score I get, just let it be one where I can sit back and be like, you know what, I'm done. I'm satisfied. Because that internal pressure always wants me to strive to do better. And when it comes to standardized testing, I knew I probably could have took the test again, but the point was I satisfied with the score that I got the first time? And the answer was yes. I was slightly above national average, not exactly what Emory was looking for, but I felt at peace with the score. So I said, okay, this is what we're working with. We're going to see what else we can leverage in order to get into law school. So I used, in terms of resources for the LSAT, so for my pre-law or people considering coming to law school, there's a couple of different opportunities that you can take in terms of waivers, workshops, and free resources to study for the LSAT. So if you look hard enough, you'll be able to find that if you fit within a certain income bracket, you can actually get waivers for law school applications and for a lot of different platforms that people use to study, especially Seven Sage. It's normally $7 a month, $70 a month, but you can get them for $1 if you qualify for the LSAC application waiver. So it's things like that that I kind of had to look a little harder for and kind of created a little bit more pressure because yes, I was working, but law school and applying to law school is very expensive. And I was also trying to buy things to stock up for wherever I was going to be living because I didn't know if I was going to be here in Atlanta or in DC. And kind of just all of these factors are building up. I'm still trying to do a good job at my first big girl job. Everybody in the office is rooting for me, like they're hoping I get in. And, they're just rooting me on. But when I finished taking the exam and when I finished applying, because I applied the first day applications opened, it was a waiting game. So throughout that time, I was just lying in wait. It was not, I'm not very patient. So that was very hard. Like, I feel like I'm patient to an extent, but it was dang near 5 months. I didn't hear anything. People carry children that long. So I said, this is ridiculous. I applied the first day so that I can get a response back quicker. But it wasn't until the day before their deadline that I had gotten my acceptance into Emory. So I had applied in September. I didn't hear back till March. So that was a doozy. But those were some of the things going through my head.
Now, what was the excitement like? Because I know getting into law school or even like a graduate school program that you're dreaming and striving for is a very exciting accomplishment depending on where you are in life. So, what was that feeling like when you either opened your email or you saw in the mailbox the acceptance letter? Like, what was going through your head, and what are you looking forward to?
That's a good question. So I was so obsessed. I found out through a couple of Reddit like threads that before you get your letter of acceptance, if you go onto your student account and you got admitted, you would see a blue pay deposit button. So every morning I'm on my way to work. I'm on my student account. I'm checking. I'm looking to see. I was like, I need to know. I need to know. So I'm checking every single day. And it was March 14th. I'm on my way to school. I said, you know what? This deadline is tomorrow. Let me just look. Let me just look one last time. I looked. I saw that blue pay deposit button. My dad was in the car with me. So I was screaming. I was like, I got in. I got like he was like, you got in? I was like, I think I got in. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, no, I think I got in. So it wasn't until like an hour later I got the letter saying, "Hey girl, welcome to class of 2026." So But I'm already through the roof. I'm like, I got it. Like, I'm in. That's it. Like, I don't even need a letter. Okay, pay deposit. I paid the deposit right then and there. I said, baby, you can't take this back. Okay. So I paid the deposit, walked into the office. I remember seeing my supervisor, and I was beaming from ear to ear. So as soon as I walked into the office, everybody already knew. They already knew what it was. I didn't even have to say anything. So I remember walking, and my supervisor was on the phone. I just like knocked on her door, and she saw my smile, and she was like, "You got in?" I was like, "Yeah, I got it." So it was great to have that support system, and especially in a professional space where I think sometimes you just don't necessarily expect that support. But all of my coworkers, my supervisors, they were so happy for me. It was great. They sent me like during my last week was coincidentally was also my birthday. They sent me off like with a welcome and a welcome gift, some Emory merch and all that good stuff. So it was great. It was great.
That's good. Now we're going to talk about the financial side of law school because not only is law school expensive, but Emory is a private institution. So how
Yeah.
did you secure funding to either assist you or, help pay with tuition, housing or whatnot? Like what were some resources you used to help out with paying for that?
Yes. So I scoured the internet because I told myself if I did not get a full ride, I was not going to law school because I did not know what type of law I wanted to do. And I refused to take on hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans. I went to FIU through Bright Futures, standardized testing. I did it, but it got me a full tuition scholarship. And I was like, okay, I did it before. I can do it again. You know, that Ty Tribbett song, he did it before, he can do it again. So, okay, all right, Lord, you got me to do a part. Let's do a part two. So I remember looking during that waiting period, I was applying to scholarships almost every single day. I had, ooh, I don't even know how many applications, but I still have like a Google Drive full of application materials from that season. And I focused primarily on different organizations that I was already a part of that I knew had scholarship resources. So the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, they not only have internship programs, but they also have scholarships, and it's for graduate students in any level of, I guess, like any type of grad school. So it was more generalized, but they also had a legal scholars program. Oops, sorry. So in doing that, I applied to that. The American Bar Association, which is the organization that creates all the rules and restrictions and regulations for attorneys practicing in the United States, they also have a legal opportunity scholarship. And this was right before the era of let's dismantle DEI. So I got kind of lucky with finding scholarships that were geared toward minority students, Black students specifically. And I also applied to the only full tuition scholarship that Emory has as a private institution. I think there's almost an expectation that you have some type of money. So they don't have merit-based, they don't have need-based scholarships. They have merit-based. But it could also be derived from, well, it's a private institution, everybody's in need because we're expensive. So we don't do need-based, but they only have the full tuition merit scholarship and other like scholarship packages. Like when I got accepted, I got a scholarship package for $50,000. And I said, work's not finished, job's not done, job's not finished. So and get it even before I got accepted, I was applying to these external scholarships. And luckily, all of the national scholarships that I applied for, I received. So I was able to receive those. And I had no idea how I was going to pay my tuition because even with those external scholarships, that did not cover everything, not to mention cost of living as well. So I applied to the Woodruff Fellows full tuition scholarship at Emory. And the only piece of that application is a single letter of recommendation. So you apply with your application into the school, and the only thing you supplement it with is a letter of recommendation that cannot be from one of the people that wrote your letter of recommendation to get into the school. So mentor at the time wrote the letter for me, and it was great. It was like 3 pages long. It was a phenomenal letter. And it was kind of, again, just that waiting game. I had already gotten in March. I didn't hear back about the Woodruff Fellowship until I want to say April or May. Mind you, school starts in August. So throughout that time, I had no idea what was going to happen. But I got an email. Actually, let me backtrack. Actually, that's part of my testimony. I'm not going to get into that yet. But yeah, I got that email but this is about resources. So reaching out to external courses, national scholarships are great. Make sure that they're renewable. Access Lex is great. That's like a law school scholarship database. Check your local lawyers association. So if you're going to school in Florida, look up the Florida Bar Association or the Broward County Bar Association. If you are a part of a certain group, there's like the Haitian Lawyers Association, there's the Caribbean Lawyers Association. They normally will have a lot of scholarship resources for pre-law students and law students. So if you do enough digging on the local area, you'll also be able to find some financial resources as well.
Got you, got you. And I remember you said you didn't know which specific part of law. I guess I don't know how to properly word that. Which part of law school you wanted to focus in. So did you take your first year of law school to kind of figure that out, or were you making your decisions as the first day of school was approaching?
So in law school, your first year is doctrinal courses. So everyone has the same exact schedule. And these are courses that will be tested on the bar exam in 3 years. So it kind of gave me time to figure out what I thought I was interested in because there were events and things that I could attend outside of school hours to talk to attorneys and see what their day to day looked like. But in school, we were taking civil procedures, contracts. I don't even remember. Intro to legal writing. Let's see. You have one elective your second semester. So I took family law. You're taking constitutional law. You're taking torts, if I said that already, and a couple of other classes. I can't remember off the top of my head, but these are all standardized throughout your first year of law school.
Got you, got you. And then what was the final factor in the field you're doing?
That's a great question. So I came into Emory wanting to do juvenile justice because that's all I knew. Once I got to Emory, I realized that there is a huge network of things that you could do in the child welfare space, and juvenile justice is just one part of that. So I think a finalizing piece for me was this summer I was working at the Office of the Child Attorney in Fulton County. Shout out to my supervising attorney, Ramona. I love her down. She taught me so much, and I'm still learning so much based off of the lessons that I learned this summer. But we worked in dependency cases. So we would be working with cases that the Department of Family and Child Services would take custody of a child for whatever reason. And we would represent that child. And it wasn't like, oh, here's what's best for you, da 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 da. It was genuinely sitting down with the child because they are our client, the same way that you would with an adult client, and say, what do you want? And I thought that was really, really cool. Very much enjoyed that experience. But one thing I learned in the midst of that was the way that a child's education can literally be turned upside down when they're being held in custody of DFACS or they're relocating to a different county or to a different state. Their education is pretty much halted until the court figures out where this child is going to go. I did not like that very much. I think I've always been a little bit of a nerd. If I wasn't in school, I was reading. I would be reading at recess. Like I was that type of kid. So I think for me, education has always been a foundation for me. And I feel like without the education that I was able to receive, even though it was not equitable, it got me to where I am today. And I always think about the next child that wasn't able to get what it was that I had. And so with that opportunity, I said, you know what? I got to do something about this. And yeah, I kind of just decided that I wanted to do education law because I wanted to focus on the rights of students, not just those whose education is disrupted because of the court system, but also because a lot of the laws that we're facing in the South, we're going through a lot of book bans. Ron DeSantis literally got rid of AP psychology, which was a class that I took in high school and I thoroughly enjoyed. And so kind of just wanting to fight back against some of that legislation and give people at least the chance to dictate what they want to learn in a classroom, whether it be K through 12 or in a university setting. So yeah, equity for all the people.
Remember how I said in the earlier interview, person for the people? Yeah, person for the people. Feel me?
Yeah.
But we're going to take a pivot here because you did answer most of the questions when it came to pertaining being a first gen student and being a law school student. But now we're going to get into the specifics of law school. So, can you share an experience where a significant either academic challenge or classroom challenge, that's a bad way to put it. I would just say leave it at that. Significant, can you share an experience where a significant academic obstacle led you to reassess your identity and personal values and or
Mm,
personal values?
yes. So I had a very, very, very rough first year. If you were around me, you knew I was fighting for my life. I still am, just in a different way, and I have a lot more strength from that time. But oh my goodness. I think the entire first year of law school was a challenge that made me reevaluate what I wanted to do. There was a specific instance, but I think I was dealing with just external forces that I had no control over. You know, I find myself to be a very driven and very dedicated student. And it was very difficult because I had a professor that no matter what I did, it was just not good enough. Like I would go to office hours, I would feel like I was being talked down in office hours. I would try to seek external help, and that was very difficult to do because in that class you can't necessarily reach out to other people because it is like your grade is yours,
Yeah.
and it wasn't necessarily advertised that you can go talk to people about it. And each professor taught this subject differently, so it wasn't like you can go to another professor and ask for help, or go to another teacher, or go to another student that had another professor and ask them for guidance, because it was a very subjective course. And what? I was about to drop out. I'm not even gonna lie. I was this close. Like, I was calling family. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't working. Like, it was just very difficult because I think it's one thing to go through an academic challenge, but this was way more than that. This was like, oh, she might not actually like you being here. She might not actually like your existence. And so that, coupled with the academic challenges of my first year of law school, was a doozy to deal with, but we made it. So
You're still here, going strong, going year two, probably about a few weeks in now at the time of this recording. You know, we're all rooting for you. I'm rooting for you because I remember you. I remember when you first got at the law school. I said, "Yeah, let's
yeah,
go." No, I was hype. I was hyping everything.
everybody
But
was. I was hyped too, but then I'm like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is actually crazy. This is actually insane. But we live. We're here. We
well,
made it.
speaking of having a bumpy first year, how do you balance your academic goals with maintaining a sense of self?
Mm, not very well. I think, and that's just being honest. I did not do a very good job at that. My first semester, I was just I didn't do much. I didn't do much that made me feel like I was myself. I felt like law school was very all consuming, which, don't be like me. Please utilize your outlets. Luckily, I have a very strong support system. So I had people that, at bare minimum, if I was not doing anything to take care of myself, I was talking to them, which always felt like a breath of relief for me, because it kind of just centered me and grounded me back. It took me back to planet Earth when I felt like my head was literally floating off with all the things that I had to deal with. So being able to reach out to my family, my boyfriend, all the people that have supported me all this way was definitely something that kept me level headed, kept me grounded. This year, I've definitely been doing a better job at taking care of myself and making sure I maintain my sense of self, because I did not like who I became my last year of my first year of law school. I was very agitated, very aggravated. I still have a little bit of temper from that time. I realized, like, my temper from high school is like coming back. I almost felt like I regressed in a sense because I considered myself to be very calm, very mellow, but that year took it out of me. So I'm kind of just rebuilding. And I talk to my therapist every other week. Love Miss Denise Down. She holds me down real bad. There's also, what do I do? I love listening to podcasts and I love listening to audiobooks. I was a very avid reader before I got into law school, but sometimes I don't be wanting to open up a book because my books are open 24/7. I have a book open right now that I need to be reading. So instead of cracking open a book because it's just that it's almost triggering now, I'll listen to an audiobook. So I'll find a book that I'm a science fiction, fantasy, type of gal, fiction type of gal. So I'll find something on Audible when I wake up in the morning. That's the first thing I'm listening to. I'm going throughout my day, kind of just bringing back my inner child and like keeping her happy and all that good stuff. I also got a cat, so he's been great.
That's good. Yeah, I was gonna say that was my next question. Did you find any new interests and passions outside of facing the academic challenges?
So I got a pet. I'm surprised he hasn't come in here. But that's my son. His name is Maui. He's a little black cat. And I was like, I want a black cat specifically because they're least likely to be adopted because of superstition and stigma. So, yeah, that was one of the best things I probably could have done for myself if you have the resources to get a pet. I'm normally a dog person, but I knew I was not going to be responsible enough for a dog. I said, there's no way. They're with my schedule with a puppy because I would want them like to grow up with them. But yeah, Maui, he doesn't mind. He prefers me to be out the house actually. So he's okay with my schedule. If it gets a little hectic and I come home late, like he's fine. And new hobbies, yeah, I got into audiobooks. I did not think I was gonna be an audio girl, but I love a good audiobook now. What else do I do? Haven't had much time to explore the city of Atlanta the way I want to, but hopefully in the future I will be, and that might be a new hobby.
That's good. Yeah, I started picking up audiobooks because one, I only have so much time in the day and I'm looking at a screen all day. I don't want to just like read off stuff, you know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
I started listening to audiobooks because that and because I drive to work, it's about 30 to 40 minutes each way going to and from work. It's usually 45 since school's starting now. So like the K through 12, I'm getting behind the buses and all that, stuck in traffic. And it's very helpful because it's like kind of like you're having a conversation with the person while they're spilling this information, but at the same time you're like talking to yourself like, dang, they really said that. Because I read a lot of memoir or autobiographies or like little history books from here and there. But yeah, the audiobooks definitely is very helpful, and the podcast too, which this can also be listened to on the way to work.
And one more thing, anime. I'm sorry, I'm a little geek. I sometimes only have the mental capacity to watch a good anime, and I will binge watch it. Like right now, I'm catching up on season 4 of Demon Slayer. I love a good. Sometimes I don't know. People do this thing where they watch trashy reality TV in law school because you kind of want to turn your brain off. For
Yeah.
me, I just love a good plot, a good storyline, but I don't want to see real people. I don't know why. So I will put on an anime and I will literally just watch reruns or catch up on what I need to. So yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah, I also watch anime, but I watch cartoons more. So I grew up with a lot of the superhero cartoons like Spider-Man, Iron Man, the Avengers, and whatnot, especially like the DC, Batman, Superman, etc. So I'm actually rewatching Avengers Assemble, which I definitely recommend if for anyone viewing this or even you, Ashney. Like it's a really good show, storyline wise. They do take some like parallels from the movie and like put them on the cartoon, which is cool, really cool. Because I'm like, yo, this is in the movie, da, 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 da. But it keeps my like you said, your inner child happy. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to just consistently think about work, 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 work. You want to think about stuff that brings you joy and happiness and whatnot. So yeah, let's see. Next thing. So after assessing how you handled or got through the first year of law school, what's your new plan for this year now that you know what you're kind of getting into?
Yeah, so new plan. I think I am a lot more tunnel vision in a good way about where I want to be and what I want to do. My first year, even though I knew I wanted to go into juvenile justice, there was so much that I needed to learn and so many things that I just did not know were available to me. So I kind of got distracted a little bit with the things that were available to me. Literally, I was exploring, but I was also kind of getting lost. But my second year, I'm a lot more focused on what it is that I want to do. So the goal right now is to be a civil rights attorney with a focus on education. But right now, I'm recognizing that the education and law field, especially on the plaintiff side, isn't a straight and narrow path like a lot of other practice areas may be. So right now I'm just honing in on how I can define that path for myself. I feel like it's going to be something that is just, I don't know, either it doesn't exist yet and I have to make it, or I just haven't found a person that I can call a mentor to kind of guide me through. But no matter what, I'm gonna get to where I need to be. So right now, my goals right now are just to focus on my studies, but adapting new study methods. I've figured out some ways that are a lot more effective than what I was doing last year, and they have proven to be very helpful so far. Keeping myself accountable with my studies, because sometimes I will fall off because I have to do a little bit of extra work. Things don't click as quickly as I want them to sometimes. So I do have to, go to those office hours a little bit more. I do have to sit down with a certain reading a little bit more if I want to fully understand what's going on. So holding myself accountable, but also giving myself grace. That is something I am still learning how to do, and I'm constantly reminded to do by my loved ones. They're constantly telling me to. And that falls to the wayside a lot. Like that's a fault in me. I just always feel like there is something to be done and I have not done enough, which is never the case. So just being a little bit more cognizant of taking a step back and acknowledging how far I have come and the improvements that I have been able to make and being satisfied, but still wanting to strive for more, but in a more healthy way.
Got you. Yeah, I think that's very important, giving yourself grace, especially, life is hard. I know graduate school's hard, full-time jobs are hard, undergrad's hard, but sometimes you gotta just pause for a second, saying like, hey, I'm 1 year into law school, I'm going on year two. I'm doing really good. Some people, like you
Mhm.
said earlier, it's like you're like you was this close to dropping out. Well, you made it further than that. Now you're probably hopefully you're like this far apart from dropping
Yeah,
out now. But it's always good to have those positive self-reflecting moments rather than just like what can I improve on instead of and just go off that. That's something I kind of struggle with too because I'm always like, all right, I did this, on to the next thing,
confident, exactly. And it's
on to the
like
next
we need
thing.
to take a moment to pause about and like just literally celebrate yourself. I think I've gotten a little better about it, but sometimes it's just like, okay, we're on to the next. And I have to be reminded, my boyfriend will be like, hey, you just applied to like a dozen jobs. Congratulations, one, but like take a break. Two, like you literally just like when I got my acceptance to work at the courthouse, I was like, okay, now I need to figure out what next summer is gonna be like. He's like, can you take a minute? Can you just
Yeah,
get to the first job first and then figure out what you want to do next summer? So it's great that I have people like that to kind of keep me grounded in a sense and just like remind me, hey, take a couple deep breaths. You can still move on to the next thing, but let's be present in the moment for a little bit.
yeah, because I remember like my freshman year of college, um, I was in this class. I was specifically for freshman STEM students and helping us transition and whatnot to eventually go on to four-year university or like to the real world. And we wrote out this kind of like timeline kind of thing where it's like 5 years from now. Oh, you're right at where you're at now. So that time it was 2019, where you're going to go 5 years, 2024, then 5 years from then, and then I think it went to like 20 years afterwards. So we did like a 20-year timeline. And I was looking at it the other day actually, and I'm like, wow, this kind of goes back to like giving grace. I'm like, yo, I really did good coming this far. Cause like my first semester at community college, I wrote this and I really kind of drew up the picture. I didn't accomplish everything I wanted to, but it's still great that I made it this far. But I'm looking at it now. Now that I'm in the real world, I'm working corporate. There's not really a set timeline when I'll be done with a job, if that makes sense. Because in college, average is 4 years depending on your degree for undergrad, and then like grad schools, it varies. And I'm sitting there like, dang, where am I going to be 5 years from now? But now I'm trying to think of it smaller. Where am I going to be 6 months from now or like a month from now? Like, am I improving on it, on what I am as a person? And of course, that 5 year mark is good, but I don't want to dwell on it too much because it'll put too much pressure on myself and kind of get me too anxious. And like, my lack of patience is, going to drive me insane. I'm still working on that part. But yeah, I think it's always good to set daily goals because that's all you can do. I'm still trying to find my pace in this marathon of
Mhm.
this chapter in my life. Can't just rush it every time. But yeah, getting to closing out. So this is the second to last. This is the last question for closing remarks.
Mhm.
Um, what advice would you give to anyone who's either a first generation student, someone who's aspiring to go to law school, or someone who was probably in the same situation as you were last year to just keep going and keep striving for that higher level of, wanting to be where you are?
Mhm. Let's see. I would say if you believe in one, hone in on your higher power, whoever or whatever that may be. Because this journey is bigger than yourself, and I think part two to that is lean in on your community. If you have a support system, hone in on them, show them love, reciprocate that love, and build that community before you start that journey because you will need them. You cannot do this by yourself. I thought I could. They quickly reminded me, girl, it is okay if you cannot. We are here, and forever grateful for them for that. Support system was huge for me my first year of law school, and still is. And I think now I kind of learned that lesson of not taking them for granted and just really appreciating the people that I have around me, but also my higher power, because I would not be here if it was not for the Most High. And first things first. And I think the third thing is do not be afraid to try your own path. I think when you go to law school, if you are wanting to go into big law, that is perfectly fine. If you want to go into a more traditional route, that is perfectly fine. But if you find yourself feeling like that is not for you, do not be afraid to chart your own path and cultivate your own means of success. It is easier said than done, but it is very, very, very much possible. And if you need any help with that, I'd love to be able to. That's my job, low key, but also my life's passion. So, it's difficult. And as a woman who has had to chart her own path many a times, I just want to be able to see if I can pay that forward. So, those are my three tidbits.
Got you. Appreciate that. Do you have any other closing remarks or any questions you want to prompt to myself or the audience?
Let's see.
Like,
That's a
like end of an
great.
interview kind of thing.
Yes, actually, yeah. Question for you. What is something that you wanted to ask me or wanted to dive into that you didn't already? I love asking people that question because it's always like, actually, maybe there's this. I don't know.
Mm, let's see. I can't really think of anything because I have a friendship with you outside, the podcast, and we talked from time to time. You know what I'm saying? So most of the questions that I wanted to dive in more on were the questions I asked in this podcast because I don't know what it's like being a first gen student. I don't know what it's like going through law school. I don't know what it's like going through the application process for law school. Nor was law school in my mind. I was focused on engineering, and that was it, like software engineering. But yeah, you answered everything, and it was also another reason I have these podcasts is for me to like get an excuse to catch up with people. I want to know what you're going through, academically, because I know we have busy schedules. We're like, hold on, I'll call you
Yes,
back. Now I got to put
we
some on
do.
my calendar so I can start doing virtual, like meet and greets type of thing with people. But no, you answered everything perfect. We kind of went off script a few times, but you answered everything to the best of your ability. And all I gotta say is like, what's next? Like going to the third year next. Well, I know we just talked about don't think about third year, but
Okay.
like, what's the bigger picture here? Because I know
Um,
you want to finish law school. But what's the bigger picture?
bigger picture, I'm gonna be a judge. I'm gonna be a judge. Bigger picture is I'm gonna be a judge. Probably gonna be a juvenile court judge. Might be chief judge, chief juvenile court judge. Don't know where. It might be here, it might be back home in Florida. Still trying to pray and figure out where am I going after law school. So that might be a deciding factor. Even if I do plant my feet here in Atlanta for 5 years, I might go back home. Or I might go back home and I might come back here. So we'll see. But the end goal, but that's like in 10 years. So that's like way out. But when I graduate, Lord willing, I will be a bar attorney, education attorney, or civil rights attorney in the state of Georgia. I probably will take my Florida bar because I want to keep that door open if I do want to come home. And yeah, I think I want to be comfortable. So hopefully I'm making some type of money with this Emory degree behind my name. So that is the goal. That's the goal. Not sure what it looks like yet, but I know I will get there. And for students, just a quick plug. Again, pre-law division liaison. I'm gonna give Rob my email so that he could put it somewhere.
Link in description.
Link in the bio, link in the
In the description.
So, because I genuinely do want people to see this and reach out to me if they're ever feeling lost or confused about their journey. I have a great deal of experience about that, but I hope that I'm a testament that it all works out, like that Lil Wayne song, just like that's really my motto. That's what's playing in the back of my head. My 2L year, like if I could have a theme song, that would be it for sure. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that would be. Dang, that's a good icebreaker for future. I'm not gonna lie.
what's
That's
the
a good
theme
icebreaker for
song
the future. Your
in your
theme
life right now?
song.
There you go. You're welcome.
Yeah, yeah. I've been listening to a lot of Nipsey Hussle
Mm.
lately. Last summer and this summer, it's been like heavy in my rotation. But I think a theme song for me would be "Perfect Timing" by Nipsey Hussle. One part that I really resonate with is like sometimes feel perfect timing feels like I'm too late, and it's like a parallel because originally I was supposed to graduate undergrad in 2023, but it got pushed back. I was supposed to transfer. I was supposed to stay at my community college for like a semester, then transfer, but stuff happened. And what was it? Sometimes perfect time feel like I'm too late. I know you're still great in spite of your mistakes. Not necessarily like those were mistakes, but it's
Right.
like it was learning lessons and whatnot, or
Yeah.
learning periods and
Yeah.
whatnot. And look at me now. I'm living life. I started a podcast. I'm finally getting this idea out my brain and giving it to the people because leadership is very important to me. And I want to bring people on this platform who have, if they know it or not, they had an impact on my life too when it comes to staying motivated. So and I want to share their story with the world because I can only spill. I said spill. I can only share so much with the world from my perspective, and there's different lenses and whatnot. So I thank you, Ashley, for being on, taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're very, very, very busy because last time I was in Atlanta, you were like, I gotta go to the library.
I
And
gotta
next thing you
go.
know, you're texting me like 2 hours later, you're like, I fell asleep at the
Yeah,
library.
law school would do that to you. Like it's a level of mental exhaustion that I knew it was gonna happen, but when it hits you, it's a completely different thing. I
Yeah.
literally came home yesterday and accidentally fell asleep on my couch. Didn't even make it to the room. Yeah. It's as much as I'm taking care of myself too well, sometimes the sleep will just get you.
Oh, yeah.
It'll just get you.
Called it to me earlier this week when I was editing videos and stuff. But
It's up to you. Like, and one thing about me, I need my sleep. If I don't get sleep, my body will make me sleep. So it's either I do it accordingly and on time, or I'm gonna be sleep in class or somewhere else that's not optimal or convenient. So
yeah. Well, thank you once again, Ashney. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope the viewers wish you the best of luck with their second year of law school and whatever summer endeavors you have coming up next year, and then closing out the chapter of law school in the following year and whatnot.
yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
But yeah, if you like this video, please. Oh, first off, thank you for tuning into the episode. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and share with a friend who may need some motivation, either as a first gen student navigating through college or heading to law school, or just someone trying to get through that last semester of law school. So until then, we'll see you on the next episode, and y'all take it easy.